For years, people have talked about Drake giving new artists a major boost with a feature, either on one of their songs or guesting on his projects. Because he's seen as putting so many rappers on over the years, it's no surprise that a lot of them feel indebted to him.
I messaged Drake like, yeah, he a cool dude, you know what I'm saying? He like,
right.
He real observant.
So this has been in a long time.
Like 2018 was gonna make it happen, but we made it happen for real.
But while we all know the success stories of people like Lil Baby and 21 Savage, what happens when the Drake cosign backfires and becomes the highlight of your career? And does that feature from Drizzy come with strings attached? That means you can never escape his shadow? From Kendrick Lamar accusing Drake of, quote, running to Atlanta when he needs a few dollars, and specifically mentioning how he uses his features with rappers like Future, 21 Savage, Lil Baby, and 2 Chainz as a way to be more accepted by the culture, it highlights a deeper point that I want to dive more into later in the video. Cause these days, we have rappers like Rod Wave, a top selling rapper with a diehard fan base, and the ability to sell out huge venues worldwide, even going as far as to turn down a feature from Drake. So it's clear that something fishy is going on. But before we get into how things went so wrong, I first need to explain how Drizzy got this reputation as a cheat code for success. By the year 2020, Drake assisted 32 artists to their highest Hot 100 position at the time. Wow, this included major stats like Kendrick Lamar, Future, Lil Baby, and many, many more. On average, the artists climbed up 19 spots from their previous highest position. Plus, 18 of these artists had never even made it onto the charts in the first place before they got that Drake stimmy. His peak moment of helping other artists came in 2017 when he brought 7 fellow rappers onto the billboards, or at least gave them a boost.
Good, Bryce.
By 2021, he'd appear on 41 projects as a guest since 2015, and 30 times out of those 41, his track had the highest streams on Spotify and YouTube for the entire project. And of course, Drake didn't just let those numbers speak for themselves. He's constantly boasted about these accomplishments on songs like Mob Ties. And now that Drake is facing opposition from artists like Future, Rick Ross, The Weeknd, and Kendrick Lamar during the rap civil war that's taken a hold of the game, his track Push-Ups also hinted towards those who benefited from the stimulus package, with shots like every song that made it onto the charts he got from Drizzy, and your first #1, I had to put it in your hand. Because of the reputation as a hitmaker who can uplift an artist's career, it's meant that getting the guest spot from Drake outshines cosigns from legends in the industry.
A Jay-Z feature is still considered one of the most important features you can get to this day.
Drake.
This was especially true for someone like Lil Durk, who was famously featured on Drake's absolute smash hit, Laugh Now, Cry Later.
In the studio, right? This motherfucker Drake come through the DM like, I don't see your number. Man, you told me this before. I supposed to be on that compilation he did, like, he dropped like 4 songs, we didn't get on it. So when he said, give me his number, I'm like, he sent the song through. I called everybody. Are you rich? It's over with. Like, shit, he got that touch for real. You hear me? I turned to a fan that motherfucking day. I called everybody. Mama, it's over down. With. I'm finna do this motherfucker. We finna fuck him up on it, and we finna go. And then so we came out, and the song was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We went straight to 100.
And then it just kept
shout out to Drizzy, man.
Yeah, shout out Drake, though. He definitely helped the motherfucker out 1,000.
Praised by so many who got that first taste of the billboard through him, it's one of the few things that, until recently at least, most of his fellow MCs were happy to salute Drizzy for.
I'm the only person that put on for me when I ain't have nobody was Drake. I'm talking about Drake was the first person to put on, like, before anybody. He didn't want to sign me.
Yeah.
He didn't want to, it was like, yo, that's raw talent, yo. Like, you gotta shine, yo. I'm gonna see to it. I forever owe Drake.
Well, that's a little awkward now, considering the recent events that's taken the game by storm. But as much as Drake fans like to talk about how he can basically give rappers exposure or even revive their careers, this is only one side of the story. Because for every success for people like Flocko, Savage, or The Weeknd, there are people like Blockboy JB, Sosa Geek, OVO Signese Division in the UK gigs, who haven't returned to the Billboard charts ever since. As for others who kept their place in the game, the problem is that they just failed to replicate the early rush of publicity that came from the Drizzy feature. That's why when the new artist Forbats got a collab with Drake, which debuted with 3 million streams in its opening 24 hours on Spotify, not everyone saw it as a good thing for his future. So who are the artists whose careers capsized after getting the call from Drake, and how much is he to blame? When you think of an artist who fell off after getting the Drake feature, they don't come much bigger than Blockboy JB, a Memphis MC who initially garnered attention with tracks like Shoot, Rover featuring 21 Savage, and the dance that Fortnite would later steal. Blockboy JB found himself getting the famed DM from Drizzy, where he claimed he was his favorite rapper. They would eventually collab on a hit song titled Look Alive, and it went crazy when it debuted, as it basically took over the game and quickly landed Blockboy in the XXL freshman list for 2018, as well as a record deal with Interscope. Peaking at number 5 on the Billboard charts, the track's official video now has over 390 million views on YouTube alone. But for all the momentum he had, it's all just evaporated once Drizzy did what he always does and moved on to the next hot thing. When his debut album Fat Boy dropped in 2020, it failed to chart, and the same unfortunately goes for 2022's Back to the Block. Although he still has his loyal core fans, resulting in 2.4 million listeners on Spotify, he struggled to come to terms with the negative impact that Look Alive had on his career, even when people pointed out to him.
Do you feel like you, in some ways, you kind of blew up so fast that it gave people weird expectations of what was supposed to be coming from you?
Not to be honest, I feel like I didn't even blow up that fast. It's just like motherfuckers weren't even on me. So when I had this song, it blew up. I didn't blow up, the song blew up. So like, people didn't even just know that I had like fucking 4 mixtapes out before this shit. So I always had a grind anyways. So I feel like people just don't understand that.
Even though things aren't in his favor, Blockboy is confident that good things are coming his way. He still believes he'll rise to the top again and will eventually step out of Drake's shadow.
Yeah, they'll tune out and guess what?
I don't see that happening
come back
anytime soon.
If I see like
at all.
It's just time. It just take time. And like the longer you keep rapping and the more you keep going, it's the bigger your fan base get. Like I know when I first dropped them with my real fans, like I already knew that because every time I look at my comments, we see something about Drake or some shit. But now like the comments change.
What's interesting is that these days, Blockboy is trying to ride the same wave by reaching out to Drake for another collaboration. This time, he didn't just slide into Drake's DMs, but he made it public on his Instagram story saying, "I think it's time for another one at Champagne Poppy." This time around, even Drake's fans recognized that there wasn't much for the Six God to game from teaming up with Blockboy ever again. Some even have gone far as to comment things like, "Drake probably avoiding watching that story right now," and "Blockboy fell off. No waves to ride there for the boy." Rather than being the megastar that Look Alive set him up to be, Blockboy is now left in obscurity, and his fallout is even being mocked by fellow rappers like Bandman Kevo.
Yeah, he fell off. I don't care. He shouldn't have said nothing about me. He fell off. He do not got no money like me. He shouldn't have came at me. He fell off. All that dancing and doing this with the leg shit is over with. It's over with, bro. You don't got it.
Once riding a wave that Drake hopped on, only to jump off before it faded, Blockboy isn't alone in briefly benefiting from Drake's knack for recognizing what's hot in the culture. Sometimes this phenomenon even extends to rappers from Drake's own city, which was the case for a rapper by the name of Smiley. An underground MC from Toronto, Smiley started his career rhyming with the Garden Gang clique. After a 2015 stint in jail derailed his momentum, Smiley got his initial exposure through tracks like 9 on Me, and soon, Drake could be seen rapping his track from the pool.
She might dance, nice shots in my pants. Or land, that's a label. She want chillin' with no cable. Now I'm popping there annoying, wow. I don't join in. Right.
Officially on Drake's radar since 2017, he soon signed to Drake's OVO label, and to him, it seemed like the perfect scenario. At that point, Drake really started pushing him heavily on social media.
I seen a picture with you and Ross, and Drake captions the shit that you're his favorite rapper.
Oh yeah.
Right? What that felt like when you seen that?
It was love. So I already he's already said things like that too already. So I was like, I was just surprised he posted that like that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
With that kind of cosign, he started to believe that he was the one.
Sure, it's like I've finally gotten to embrace everything, like, you know, I understand it, but like I've been like that. I've been asking myself like, why me? But I'm gonna keep asking myself that for how long now? Like, you know?
Yeah, it's me.
You know, but real shit. Why me? But it's just, it's love. Like that's what's crazy, because now I even see what he sees. Real shit, like, you know, it's crazy. It's like,
GOAT LeBron.
I do believe like.
But unfortunately for Smiley, no one else saw it. And when he finally got the Drake cosign on 2021's Over the Top, his flow got clowned by the masses, and everyone pretty much thought he fumbled his opportunity.
Got fresh from the boy and it leaked. He sent me a new and said use instead. Everything go when he live in that. What am I listening to?
I'm gonna get mad, bro, cause this shit, bro. It getting me hot, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
The comments were just as ruthless.
Yeah, that song
One of
was
the hardest
definitely
verses
bad.
from Drake in a long time, and Smiley does this. Smiley sounds like he has tickle battles with his homeboys. Despite the fact that the track got number 57 on the chart, his 2021 album, Buy or Buy 2, sold abysmally, clocking in at just 1.5k units in its first week. Since then, he's barely been a factor, but has denied falling off, without any real evidence to back it up, aside from the fact that he was chilling on a boat. But falling by the wayside in Drake's priorities after a hit isn't exactly anything new. I mean, just look at what happened to I Love McConan, another artist who acquired Drake's attention from a self-released project. McConan's debut EP popped off, courtesy of tracks like Tuesday and I Don't Sell Molly No More. After putting in a call to producer Sonny Digital, Drizzy got his hands on the track, and suddenly, McConan's life changed.
Now, when Drake got on it, what did you say?
Oh, man, I just fainted in the house. You saw that little video. I was like, what the hell happened? You know what I'm saying? I was just tripping with my friends, you know what I'm saying, smoking weed, hanging out. Somebody tweeted me a link like, oh, that new Drake and I Love McConan is fire. And I just favored it like, oh, yeah, that would be dope. He must mean like if me and Drake made the track, that would be hot. And I was like, yeah, that would be hot. The official OVO page tweeted me and was like, Drake, I Love McConan featuring Drake, Tuesday remix. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, no way. I met Drake after the show, after watching the show and shit. And then he came up to me singing some more lyrics from like I Don't Sell Molly and all that. And I was just like, what? How do you know my music? You know what I'm saying?
Soon after that, McConan signed to OVO and thought he won the music industry lottery. But just a year after he got signed, the Californian was lifting the lid on the experience and even claimed that Drake threatened to put hands on him at one point. In a lengthy interview with The Fader, McConan expressed how he felt like Drake and his crew were, quote, scared when they saw how easily he could cook up some bangers, before expressing how he felt betrayed by Drake's camp for the way he was treated when he entered their orbit. Why y'all want to play games? Why didn't y'all just tell me you didn't want to fuck with me anymore and just let me go about my own way? Why did y'all make me chase you all the way the fuck around and make me look like a fucking fool? Why would you do this? I was threatened by others, someone I so-called look up to, saying we gon' fuck you up the next time we see you. Believing that OVO only signed him because they needed a hot song, McConan has stayed on his independent grind, but nothing's ever hit the same since he had this misadventure with OVO. But while there might have always been a ceiling on McConan's success anyways, one person who many think has been held back by his association with Drake is Party Next Door. An R&B pioneer in the eyes of the fans, the fellow Canadian has been clicked up with Drake since 2014. And while The Weeknd refused to sign to OVO, Party Next Door was happy to sign his name on the dotted line. I could go to a label where they don't know how to handle me and they don't care, he said of his decision. Or I'll have a mentor who's been through it, who knows exactly what I want to mean to my city and what I want to achieve. They know how to handle your emotions. I'll have freedom and guidance. Even though he claimed to have all this freedom, he later revealed in an interview that he had to give Drake the track Wednesday Night Interlude for one of his projects, even though he wanted it for himself. But there's no denying that Drake made a really big impact for him. In 2016, Come and See Me got him onto the charts. And in 2019, Loyal became his biggest commercial success so far. But there's times where PND's frustration with his role at OVO has boiled over, particularly when it comes to writing for other artists.
I'm 23, but I feel 43. You know what I mean? That's something to write for these other people.
PND has faced criticism for either sharing his hits with Drake or finding his biggest successes alongside him. He once tweeted and deleted his plans to leave the label after one more album in November of 2020 when he wrote, "One more album, then I'll tell y'all what it's like." But now that so much time has passed, it's hard to imagine that even as talented as he is, that he could ever reach the full potential he had before wasting valuable time on the shelf at OVO. As for others, the Drake cosign seemed to come at the perfect time, only to be unable to capitalize. This was definitely the case for Young Blue, an Alabama artist who initially made waves back in 2017 with Miss It. Blue has always had clear star power, but when his buzz started to take a little dip, having Drizzy hop on 2020's Your Mind Still changed everything for him. Before that, he was battling to get a fair deal from record labels and almost signed his life away on what would have been a terrible contract. But the minute that he was seen next to Drizzy, he suddenly had leverage.
The deal they was offering me, it was like a lot of projects involved in that, like, and I was just like, man, I ain't got no other choice, like, man. I'm just finna take the opportunity, huh?
Like three projects or so?
Like like 4. And they wanted my old masters. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hell to the fucking no.
And it was a number like 250 type shit. You feel
2.5 mil?
No. 250,000.
Yeah.
Like advance. Okay, just put it in perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Dumb sometimes.
Like before the Drake record dropped, well, soon as the Drake record dropped, I was having bidding wars between $8 and $9 million.
Really?
Yeah.
The lead single from his album Moon Boy, the record peaked at number 12, and soon after, he was blowing up like crazy. But to this day, Your Mind Still has double the plays of his next most popular song. And while albums like 2023's Love Scars 2 did alright, he still hasn't been able to get a hit that comes anywhere close to the impact of the collab with the Six God. Through these artists, we get a glimpse into the potential negative effects of getting the Drake
that's
stimulus
expected
package.
if you're gonna make a
but
song with
why
the
does this
best rapper
happen
in the
to
world?
so many of them? And who exactly is to blame? Drake's critics often suggest that there are hidden reasons behind his collaborations. Since his rise to fame, he's faced accusations of capitalizing on others' sounds or leveraging their hype for his own gain. Back in 2015, when he first started co-signing Kodak Black, Earl Sweatshirt called him a vulture on Twitter, where he wrote, "I still feel like Drake's overall statement isn't 'check this new shit I heard.' It's always self-serving." And a lot of people agree. Drake obviously embraces the curator/trendsetter persona, and he's decent enough at it. But it doesn't ever seem like he manages long-term working relationships with these artists he quote-unquote discovers. Whether it's Dej Loaf, Fetty, or McConan, it feels like nothing can happen in hip-hop without him. He's a vampire. But according to Drake, it's nothing as sinister as that. Whether it's UK rap or Afrobeat he's tapping into, it's just because he's a music lover.
I like to enjoy what's going on, man. I appreciate all these young people creating all these things. You know, it takes some real energy and synergy to create a good song.
Yeah.
I hate that people think that me being into music from these kids that are trying to make it and trying to build a name for themselves is oh, that's some culture vulture. What does that even mean? I don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
Would you rather me not
exactly
acknowledge anything or support?
So y'all
That's
think
some
Drake is a
hater
culture
shit, but
vulture?
It is what it is. I see it a lot, and I guess people have their own outlook on it.
But it's fair to say that not everyone thinks it's as straightforward as that. In the eyes of the TDE rapper Daylight, he'll just use them up and throw them away.
We live in an era where people need to suck other
Surely
people's
that's not what
juice.
he meant, right?
So they're gonna make friends with him, especially you know who. He's gonna make friends with him. He's gonna try to do a song with him and feed off of him like he does every up and coming rapper. What's gonna happen is they're gonna get on your records, they're gonna take your style, and they're gonna blow up, and then when you dry out, they're gonna keep going.
And when you look at the careers of people like Blockboy JB and McConan, he might have a point. Then you have the problems he faces with the artists on his label. Similar to P&D's experience, there's a feeling that many of the artists are fueling the Drake machine. OVO's Majid Jordan once described a studio setup that was way more similar to a boot camp than it was to a recording session, where artists are secluded, working tirelessly on projects without outside contact. The result? Well, it gave us hits like Just Hold On, We're Going Home, which, as many of you know, is one of Drake's most popular tracks. But it's stories like this that alter some fans' perceptions to the point that they believe Drake operates a musical sweatshop disguised as a label. So when his newest signee, Forbats, joined, they were trying to warn him about what to expect. Welcome to the sweatshop, Forbats. Your stay is indefinite. To noted Drake stan academics, there are definitely problems that arise from the Drake stimulus package.
Drake has successfully cleared himself of a number 2. This was artistry and wizardry at its finest. Hear me out. Drake rocked all these newcomers to sleep that could be possibly an incumbent. Okay, little baby. All right, bet. You know, see, Drake never hates on the new guy. He just shows him overly love and almost gets credit for the new guy come up. Then after a while, he steps away from the nigga and shit never looks the same.
But when it comes down to it, Drake is ultimately free to give a feature to whoever he wants. And if they're not on his label, he doesn't owe them anything else. In fact, while it might give these rappers a buzz in wake of the track dropping, it's not his job to give them a whole career.
All right. That's it. No outro, no nothing. Now when I get that Drake feature, I'm not gonna be like the rest of them.
Do that got a CO2 tank? Why the fuck you calling fake Drake? Shopping off of Alibaba, why you rocking fake bag? K-Roll, you sipping fake drink. Oh